Hello everyone, and welcome to my July garden tour. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Liz and I garden in California, Zone 9B. It's super hot outside, at least 100 degrees. So I figured today I'll turn my video camera on a little bit later and do my garden tour in the early evening. As you can see, I have a lot of Vinca growing in my garden. It does so well in this hotter weather. As long as I keep it watered, it will continue to bloom for me. In this pot I also have a marigold, some creeping jenny, but my dahlia, I don't know. I don't think that's doing so good. It seems like my dahlias do much better in the shade. Maybe it's a California thing, I'm not sure. I have a few little strawberries growing out of that little strawberry pot. More Vinca over here. You know, even though it does do well in the heat, it does stress it out a little bit, and what I've noticed is my Vinca is starting to make seed pods, and it usually does that when it gets a little stressed out. So what I do is I just remove the seed pods to prolong the longevity, because once a flower makes seeds, it thinks its job is done and then it dies. So I just keep removing these seed pods, hoping that my Vinca will last a little bit longer. I'm sure that when this heat wave is over, it won't be stressed out as much. So it's just a matter of being patient right now. In this Veggiga raised box, I have 2 zucchini plants, and they've been producing zucchini for me all season long. This has always been a corner in my garden that I've ignored. So I just figured I'd throw some tam bark down there and plant some Vinca, and it just kind of doctored it up a little bit and made it look pretty again. So now I'm not so insecure showing this area. Inside the stackable tires is a plumbago. I did prune it back a lot, so it's just starting to come back now. Now I know a lot of you are concerned when I grow things in tires. I agree, we probably should not grow vegetables because of the toxins, so I only grow flowers. The tires is more for a funky look in my garden that I like, but I really don't grow anything that I can eat out of them. If you notice this little plant stand, I actually made this. This is actually a pedestal that's supposed to go on the bottom, and below there is the top. So imagine flipping it upside down, and that is the platform for a table. So this would have been on the bottom, but what I did is I found all these stones. They're like decorative stones you can buy at the hobby shop, and I glued them on with some little iridescent rocks, and then I got mortar and I made like a mosaic. So I actually made this myself, and then I just sprayed the pedestal black. And behind this chair, I still haven't decided what color I want to paint it. I actually wish it would just completely rust out, because I love rusty things. However, it's in the in-between stages and I don't like it, so I'm thinking of spraying it. A lot of you suggested yellow and pink. One of these garden tour updates, you're going to see that sprayed a special color. Behind that is a canna lily. I bought that at a plant sale, and it was just so tiny, and I decided to put it back here in this corner, and it's doing so good. I have no idea what color that's going to be, because it's a surprise. When I bought it, I had no idea. And behind that trellis there used to be a pink jasmine, but I since removed that because it got way out of hand, and every so many years I cut it all the way back and it grows back perfectly fine. The pink jasmines are amazing. See, look at all the new growth. So by next spring I will have new pink jasmine. And do you like my little horseshoe flower? I made that as well. I just got horseshoes and I had an epoxy and I glued them together. You can kind of see the glue. It's a little messy, but oh well, from a distance it looks kind of cute. Just made that out of horseshoes. Oh, and the stem, that's rebar. Besides Vinca, and besides Creeping Jenny, marigolds also do very well in my California garden zone. This year I just started experimenting with these big giant pom-pom marigolds. I love them so much. I wish I would have discovered those sooner, but better late than never. I'll definitely be planting more of these very soon. And I have more marigolds down here, along with a white, what is that called? I forget. I'll put a link up in the left or right hand corner. Sometimes I have to look things up because I always forget what certain things are called. I think the flowers are so delicate and pretty, and it's funny because I recently pruned it back and it's growing more. So don't ever be scared to prune things back. It actually stimulates new growth. I call this my center iron plant stand. I actually was given this really cool plant stand made out of rebar. Somebody made that and they were throwing it away. And a friend said, I think Liz would like that for her garden. I don't know what it was used for. I'm thinking maybe a clothes rack, or it was used in some kind of a store, maybe a nursery. I really don't know. I would love to know what you think. What do you think somebody made this for? And then why on earth would they throw it away? So much craftsmanship went into making this. Oh, well, my father has always taught me one man's junk is another man's treasure. Isn't that for sure? This little area in my garden, I call it my little cottage garden. My zinnias are starting to bloom, and if you notice the vinca I have in those pots, the leaves are kind of turning yellow. It's because I'm watering them so much to make it through this heat, and I think they're being depleted of all their nutrients. I painted that little bench. I found it at a yard sale for $10, and I put my little touches on it. Another reason why I decided to film this garden tour in the late afternoon is because people aren't using their air conditioners as much, so maybe my video will be a little quiet. And because I live right behind a dog kennel, the dogs don't seem to be barking as much right now. This is my little shade garden. I have a sedum autumn joy that is getting ready to bloom, some miniature roses, a beautiful hosta, impatiens, and my hydrangea. I almost forgot the name of that. It's already bloomed, but there's still a couple more blooms. The reason why it's called hydrangea is because hydrangeas love water. They always like to be hydrated, hence the name hydrangea. And it looks like my stargazer lily is about to open up. Maybe I'll show another video in a few days when it does. I'm going to take you over here. You know, my lantana in this vintage bathtub, I'm very disappointed with it this year. I think the roots are getting really crowded because it's been in there for, 5 years maybe, and I think it's time to take it out. Just like all the plants that were growing in this vintage tub, and I had to take those out as well. Well, everything was planted at the same time, so I think it's time to do another vintage bathtub makeover. However, I really do enjoy having the lantana in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dig it up, maybe see if I can separate it, divide the plant a little bit, freshen up the soil, and replant it, because that lantana, when it's thriving, it's absolutely beautiful. It should be bursting with flowers right now, and it's not. So I know it's time. And you know, I'm going to be very honest and real with this garden tour. I'm not just going to film the things that are in bloom and looking beautiful. I'm going to show you what works and what doesn't. And my Vinca raised box has some zinnias in it, and they've gotten nice and tall. And I recently just redid this corner. I planted snowball agapanthus. They're going to make these beautiful white flowers with some lily turf around it. I think the bluish, purplish flowers of the lily turf will look really pretty against the snowball flowers from the agapanthus. And in this veggie box, I have a butterfly bush in the center, a gara, which I just pruned all the way back. And look how big it's getting. It's already going to make new flowers. Another sedum autumn joy. And as you can see, I'm redoing this corner. I'm super excited. Let me tell you about that in just a second. This is a white Natchez Crepe Myrtle, and behind that is my dynamite red Crepe Myrtle in all of its glory. Yeah, it's a little tilted because the flowers are so heavy, but I'll be staking that pretty soon. Okay, let's talk about this fun corner. The bricks used to go all the way around like that, but I separated them and now they're going that way. Okay, here's my plan for this corner. I'm super excited. Yeah, there's still some debris on the floor because, well, I just did a lot of work today. So my idea for this corner is I'm planning on putting an archway over the opening with a water fountain in the center. I know a lot of my viewers tell me that they really like the little corners, and some of you call them little rooms in my garden. So I decided to make this little corner a special little place as well. But isn't that red dynamite crepe myrtle tree absolutely beautiful? I love it. Okay, here's more shade garden area. Have some miniature roses in front. Some little Angelina sedum. I just kept taking little pieces from a main plant, stuck them in the ground, and they're growing. My succulent barrel with some string of bananas falling down. It's getting a little bit more sun this year, so it's stressing out a little bit, but it'll be okay. Yeah, see, this hosta's stressing out a little bit as well. Another hosta, miniature roses. That hosta is a guacamole. My azalea, the leaves are a little, what is that called? Chlorosis. It looks like it could use some iron. Okay, now look at this dahlia. It's so beautiful. This dahlia is the prettiest one in my garden, and it's growing in shade. So whenever you buy plants and it tells you where to plant it, just remember that everybody's garden is different. Garden Zone 9B is Florida. Garden Zone 9B is San Francisco. So that kind of tells you a lot. My Garden Zone 9B might be way more hot than yours. There's another stargazer lily. This one looks like it's done. So we'll get rid of that and let the plant put all of its energy into these beauties. Be careful when you smell a stargazer lily. You'll get brown pollen all over your face. And for those of you wondering, I got this raised vegetable box from Vinca. They actually sent me 2 for free to try out. I made a video about those. I'll leave a link in the description below, but I just love them. I've been keeping my zinnias well watered in this heat wave, and they're making it through just fine. And believe it or not, call me crazy, but I could swear that my white Natchez crepe myrtle tree is blooming again. And look at my crepe myrtle tree in the daylight with the sun behind it. It looks like it's on fire. I believe it's at its peak now. 3 days later, it's totally peaking. Absolutely stunning. Like I said, I know it's leaning a little bit, but I will worry about that when it's done blooming. Right now, I'm just gonna enjoy these massive red blooms. It's so crazy what 3 days later looks like in a garden, right? The garden changes this fast. I could probably do a garden tour every week. 3 days later, even my dahlia's blooming again. Yeah, dahlias definitely work better for me in the shade, that's for sure. So don't ever be scared to grow something in an area, even if the tag tells you otherwise. Even though this is a garden tour, I want to show you what I'm going to do to my stressed out Vinca plants. See all the seed pods? I know they're going to seed because of the heat. They probably think they're running out of time, so they're going to produce babies before they die. These are what the seeds look like. So what I'm going to do during this heat wave, I'm just gonna snip it off. See, that was the seed pods growing on the ends. So rather than my plant stressing in this heat and using all of its energy to make seeds, I'm just gonna snip them off. Just pretend like it didn't even happen. Snip. I guess you could say I'm kind of like pruning my Vinca. And I know I'm cutting off a lot of the flowers, but that's okay because if I let it go to seed, it might die. So it's not like I'm hurting it if it's going to die anyway, right? This way I'm taking a better chance that once I cut all these seed pods off, maybe it'll encourage new growth. And that's just what I'm doing. So see, there is new growth right down here. See, all that's new growth. And right there. I could also let these seed pods dry out and then maybe scatter the seeds somewhere else in my garden. Look at those. See, there's a whole bunch of seeds in there that are already falling out. So pruning my Vinca to take the stress away is a good idea in the heat. And even though Vincas can tolerate full sun, they actually like the full sun. I'm gonna move my Vinca underneath in my patio next to the coleus just to give them a break from this intense heat until the heat wave passes. And as I mentioned, if you notice that the leaves are yellow, that's because I was watering them so much, trying to keep them hydrated. It probably just washed out all the nutrients. So I did give them a little fertilizer as well. Well, that's it for my July garden tour. I hope you're staying cool, my friends, and enjoying your garden too. See you next time.